He's doing good. He's hitting heads, and he's making his team win. Though, our map ban, really quick, 7 maps, 6 down, 1 will be left at the end, and we'll know which one we're going to be playing on Clubhouse. Oh, thank God. BDS, favorite team, by the way, not biased just because they banned Oregon. So, Clubhouse, that's the map we're going to be playing on. Our matchup's pretty much ready, so let's skip forward. Predictions. So what does everybody think about this? You can go and check this out, of course, on our socials. Down below, you'll see this pop up at R6 Esports EU.
Oh no.
I mean, okay, hard.
Don't blame them.
I mean, last stage, Rogue beat BDS. What was it, a 7-3? Something like that? They crucified them, and now look how times have changed.
Yep.
Form is everything.
As you would say, how the turntables.
How the turns have tabled.
Yeah, a wonderful position that we find ourselves in today. BDS definitely way better of a team than they even were before. Rogue, difficult situation to be in. Of course, our predictions, though, all of us. Let's bring it up to our 5 pieces of the puzzle, and we all went for BDS. All right, you know what, Des? Real quick, throw it over to us. Why BDS?
I mean, do I really need to give you a reason, Milos?
No,
did you
Jess,
watch
please,
the games
yours.
last week?
No, I did, but Des, it's okay. We heard what you wanted to say. Jess?
Oh, man, I gotta go with my big bro. I trust his gut.
I picked BDS. I picked BDS because I was going for the underdog.
Shut up, Gia.
I guess
All right, you know what? On that note, let's toss it over to Jess and Des. All yours. Enjoy.
Such a brutal shutdown there, Jess, that not even Milos had to say stop talking to you. It was all down to Dev. Magical words and a magical game coming up as well, I'm sure. Go on. What do you want to say when you stop laughing?
I was gonna say, out of all the people to tell someone else to shut up, James is the last person I expect to do it. So if James tells you to shut up, it's probably time to sew the lips together.
You shut the damn hell up. Yeah, pretty much. Well, our lips are not going to stop moving, unfortunately, for you guys. BDS versus Rogue on Clubhouse. It's not Oregon for once. That means we get to experience something a little bit different. God. I say different. We did see this get played last week. I believe it was Navi that played it twice in both of their fixtures. And while we saw how that worked out for them with a couple of draws going on the board, but it's about the story behind this game, Jess. We spoke about it earlier on, you and I. BDS were on a roll last season, and the only team that could stand in front of them on Oregon of all maps was Rogue, where they put them in the dirt, they countered them perfectly. The players gave a massive shout out to Arcuth, their analyst, around helping them prepare for this. Will today be the same story? I'm not so convinced, given how sharp BDS looked last week compared to every other team in the competition.
Well, unfortunately, Rafal's already bailed. Hopefully he'll come back in, and a little bit of a yikes there in German from Leon. What? That's okay.
This is coming out so much on Twitter. It's starting to kill me. I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it kind of means like yikes, which I love it. I love when the Germans throw it up there. Yeah.
I just thought it was a noise people in like, huh? You know, like, it sounds like that kind of noise you
my
make.
Understanding. I mean, oh, look, my German's very bad. Mein Deutsch ist schlecht, es tut mir leid. But it's one of those things that, yeah, that's at least what I was kind of told that it was kind of translated to. So we'll see. But talking about the bans, look at this. Ace and a Maverick ban. Thatcher's on the board. Maverick is not. Ace off the board. Double hard bridge ban. Were my coming out there from BDS? Absolutely no surprise there. But I really want to analyze the Ace and Maverick ban. I actually don't think we've seen this combination in a long time, especially with the Thatcher being the predominant ban. I haven't seen it personally at all, but I hate to make definitive statements that way.
Yeah, it's interesting because this map before we had Ace coming out, you would sometimes see the double hard breach ban coming out. The Hibana was always a hot target because of the hatches, for example. And also when you're attacking sites like your bedroom, you often find that you still need to get that CCTV wall open to prevent players playing on the west window inside a CCTV. Either way, it should make for an interesting map. It does mean that electrification operators could be pretty useful and effective here, or at least to some degree where you can't get them open as easily as you would with something like a Maverick. But of course, with that Thatcher still being on side, they can still be disabled, albeit not destroyed as they used to be before. And what I love actually is how Thatcher is still being used so much despite that destruction of gadgets not being a thing anymore.
Thatcher on the board, okay, maybe the Kaid's not as useful, but there are hatches you still can Kaid trick. It only disables the Electric Claw now with the nerf to Thatcher, and so you can still get away with some of those some of those electrifications of those hatches. So it's surprising they're not bringing it. They're also not bringing almost any wall denial outside of the mute jammers, but you also want to try and use them on walls, etc. Stop those drones coming in, especially for dirt, for example. Oryx is obviously being featured as well. I don't think that'll be used so much to roam around the map. He might try and use that early on, but I'm not entirely sure. And actually, yeah, as I say that, there is rotates going on upstairs. They're actually doing a complete roam. There you go. No castle in here, so it's not really the SSG roam. They're putting their own flair on this, and well, maybe that might actually help BDS, because if you look at the amount of times that they've been able to win, actually no, their most successful attacking site is Church and Arsenal. So this looks good for BDS if stats are anything to read into.
If they are, and it's a mix of stats and the actual what actually bloody happens rather than just a tick in a box sometimes that we love to see onto. And this kind of setup is definitely unique. As you mentioned, the castle something we'd see an awful lot. The vigil will be brought alongside this sort of comp as well. Here, what you do lack by not having the castle or the vigil on side is the ground floor protection. You can't castle up the doorways, you can't castle up the entryway into the actual building itself the way that teams normally would. So it means that you can stick someone as an attacker on the main doorway and look to watch the hatching construction where these defenders will drop through when it comes round for the rotate back down. By the looks of it though, it's just Corey hanging upstairs. You've got Leon on the Oryx and you've got the mute playing just below. So maybe there's a little bit of shared support here, but not in the way that we are used to. Very curious to see if Leon's going to go springing up hatches a little bit later on, but we'll see how much time Corey can waste first.
Corey's on the Mozzie, and now that you got the 1.5 on the Brony, you've also got angled grip on it. It's a nasty weapon if you can hit some heads with it. Doesn't have a lot of bullets, in fact less than the Type 89 who has 21 bullets, but Alem says, good night Leon, you're not going to be hopping up any hatches for the rest of the round at least. Maybe in future matchups if they, or rather future rounds if he decides to run it, and that scared Rogue exponentially. They've all just flooded back to side and said, nope, we're not dealing with Alems, he's popping off.
I've either turn around and scream, nope, I'm out.
Nope.
Peace. Straight back to the site. And yeah, they've kept themselves alive, but it has wasted a bit of time here. About 90 seconds if you're being generous. Looking towards Renshiro, just taking over the top of the hatch area, and you've got Rafal on the top floor too. They've committed a little bit of utility upstairs. Did keep more drones alive than I would have expected them to, given you're coming up against a mute and a Mozzie. So in this spot, I don't think they're really too bad off, I guess. You've still got the information, sure, some utility is down, a bit of time is down, but still plenty to play with here. And from watching BDS last week, they have absolutely zero issues executing in the dying 30 seconds of a round.
That's a good hit there onto Alems. He was low HP, so not a surprise, but oh, good trade back. It did happen within the first 10 seconds, so you can classify that as a trade. And Renshiro will clap back. That's his second EMP as well, been counting them because, well, they've really only got a mute jammer on the triple wall to contend with on that church wall. So if they want to get that wall open as well, they'll get it open, and the hatches are free. So this is looking good for BDS. They may just have to start speeding things up. They've only really been able to pick two of those operators. Did he just shoot off a C4 or was that something else? That a prox alarm?
That was a prox
alarm. I'm
alarm,
hoping it wasn't a C4. Okay, good.
No. Don't worry, prox alarm. Promise. Trying to grenade their way through Moto here, I think, to try and clear out any gadgets that were hanging up on the doorway, of which there were none. You can see them squaring up inside of Moto to try and go for this execute, but Rip's holding up nice and close here, not with a shotgun in hand, mind you, playing with the SMG up close, but look at those kills flying in, so much so that there are even team kills involved in this one. Rips finds two, but can't quite stop Shaiko charging his way in at the end. It may have come down to a 1 versus 1, but my god, with that 3v1 at the end, did BDS look strong?
Didn't you say to me, and this was all the way back in stage 1, I think, but you said to me that Rips had like the highest 1vx or something to that effect back then anyway. So I really feel like, that he's showing that his 1vx clutch situations is where he thrives. He almost had that. I reckon if he had an extra second to be able to reload that SMG and know exactly where the Habana was pushing from, we could have seen maybe a 1v3 clutch there, but not to be. And that kill feed was lighting up in the end there when BDS did decide to move on to side. It really just came down to that church presence. That was the only thing stopping them. They also, and I think, I'm not sure whether or not Rogue was intending to use those, they had 2 C4s below in Armory, whether they were planning on using that as sort of a deterrent to anyone going into kitchen, but no one really went. So it's like BDS just knew how to slither through all of their setup there and just really pick it apart.
But they managed to disregard all the work that Rogue was trying to do in terms of wasting time and still go on to close out a round. And it's the one difference I saw in their game. I think it was, I want to say it was the game against Chaos, when Chaos always came down to trying to execute in the final 5 to 10 seconds of a round. BDS would often be in position to go and close a round with 70 seconds still on the clock. It was
Wow.
absurd how much time they still had left to play with, and they were very, very efficient when it came round to those executes. And just circling back to your point earlier on around rips, absolutely, it's one of my favorite stats that I'll ever see, ever. Pro League Season 11. Aces was top with plus 42 in KD. Corey, top on the entry with plus 12. And then Rips was top for clutches with 7. So 3
Wow.
members of Rogue were all across the top in each of those categories. If you are curious, the person who came top for plants was Goga with 20. And Doki was top for rating and cost with 1.41 and 79% respectively. So you've got all this lovely blue as kind of the MVPs. And then you've just got Doki there, smiling and smirking in a yellow and black jersey like, not all 5 spots for you, thank you very much.
Well, Hosti's had a pretty good debut here on his tier 1 placements.
Would you say it's his debut, Jess?
It's one of his debuts. Look, for the most part, once Aces does come back in, he'll, oh, some wallbangs coming out with some yellow pings as well. But once he does get, you know, taken back out of his roster placement there, because Aces will come back in, not this Wednesday, but the next, I believe. And once he sort of goes back to the bench, at least he'll have had a good time here in Tier 1. I wouldn't say he's horrible in any way, shape, or form. He's taken the fragging role straight out of Ace's hand. That's a hard role to take. And I think he's done quite a good job. Of course, I've always been a big Aces fan. I think he's one of the best fraggers in all of EUL, alongside Leon Gids. And Corey says, well, Shaiko's been listed as another one of those fraggers, but I can take him out today.
Absolutely no problem for him at all. And on the subject of Hosty, he was the top-rated player for them in their game last week against Team Secret. So after that first shaky game they had, he did step up really well. But I agree with you, it is so hard to replace that void in this team. I think, again, knowing what Leon and Aces have been able to do all of last season, really, and I guess somewhat into the major, although not to anywhere near as much success, is they could step up and get all these really naughty mid-round kills that just completely swung rounds in their favour, and no doubt that was missing slightly last week. We'll see if they can restore it somewhat here against BDS. It's not the opponent I'd want to try and restore it against, admittedly. But so far, they're holding strong. You can see BDS with a very big focus into construction and no focus at all towards the CCTV wall. Only 50 seconds left likely means there is not going to be enough time here for them to get everything open that they need to go for an attack. Barrage will stay in possession of Rogue, and so will the CCTV wall.
I think Kajek is one of those underrated players. You know, he's been doing so much for his team. You don't realize he's impact tricky. He's making sure he's giving the intel. He's doing everything he can. And unfortunately, after all that, he falls to Rafale's grenade. He did his best. He delayed a lot of time. But guess what? I don't think there's any more smokes from Corey left. This is all down to the C4s and guns, and Leon Gids has neither.
Either way, not being aware of who's in the window, it's French Shiro, of course, and then finding another one onto Corey, and everything has just swung the way of BDS once again. You've still got Riz playing inside a garage, almost gets grenaded out, but like that, BDS have done what they did against both of their opponents last week. It doesn't matter if they only control one direction here when trying to push in towards this top site. They walk forward, they frag the bloody hell out of it. 4 kills to nothing in response. This is exactly the kind of gun skill domination we saw from the French team last week. It doesn't look like it's let up over the weekend at all, Jess.
A lot of people will hear what you're saying and just interpret that as, oh, BDS has the better gunners. And I kind of want to dispel that myth a little bit, because if you go back to the end of that round, when they all got onto site, everyone had their own position. Everyone had their own angle. Everyone had their own purpose in that execute. It wasn't, oh, let me run in and see who I can find. No, everyone had their own purpose to be able to push in. One had to go red stairs. One had to hold the angle across in the garage. One had to make sure they were holding behind in the cross angle over the planter. And then one person was planting. I think the big thing there is that not only do they have mechanical skill, but you got game sense to match it. You got the coordination to match it. And that's what makes a great team like BDS.
I think it's fair to say at this level, you couldn't be 5 ranked gunners and just run around fragging everyone out. It's never going to work like that. You'll get traded out. You'll have cross angles held on you. Absolutely. But it's more that even with that spot where they only had one, let's not forget, they had to push from construction. They didn't have garage. They didn't have CCTV wall. They had no real long angles to play with. That was just a very simple, we are either coming through a single doorway or through the breach hole that we opened up. And they still go 4-0, not even requiring a trade. They managed to start going for a plant as well. They look monstrous. Genuinely terrifying. And I'm still questioning who in EUL is going to be able to beat them as this stage progresses. Rogue, clearly they want to double down on what's going on downstairs, trying once more inside of Church and Arsenal like back in round number 1. Not going for the roam setup either. You'll see the operator selection has changed. There is no mute, there is no mozzie. Everything is much more static and trap-based, should we say. You're looking towards the Evil Eyes, the Glow's Shields, the Smoke Canisters, to Malusi's Banshees. Everything to me is just screaming, slow them down, don't let them pile onto us, and just play behind all these gadgets that we've got.
Oh, BDS, for the most part in Church and Arsenal, they'll barely ever get a plant down. Most of their statistics show that they win the round via elimination. And they've been pretty successful by winning via elimination. I mean, whether or not the plant's going down, we don't have those statistics, but for the most part, it's all been via elimination. In fact, the site which they have the most success planting on is Master and Gym, but most of the time that gets retaken and they lose that round. So it's interesting that the rounds that they win the most are the ones via elimination rather than plant.
It's interesting. I guess Gym and Bedroom does have a very big focus around the gym site itself and trying to plant in from the jacuzzi wall or trying to get in the window and going for something similar. Retake does seem to be the name of the game more often than not on at that site. Maybe we'll head there in the next round if things carry on this way and Rogue starts scrambling for an answer in their defensive half, being down these 2 attacking rounds. Not the best start to Clubhouse, a map that they themselves have... I think it's very clear looking at their past. They were very, very happy to play on this map. They had absolutely no issues coming to Clubhouse. But here you're coming up against BDS. Not quite a clear story. And Shaiko's going to find Leon through the floor. Death from above, quite literally raining down on him. And no, I think actually the Malusi may have even playing with impacts there, which would have been their denial.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen here.
I'm wondering whether he had a C4 or impacts. Either way, his job was to do one thing, whether or not he had either a C4 or an impact, and he didn't do either. So whether or not our beautiful observer can get an extended view, not that we would see. No, now that he's dead, we won't be able to see that, but that's okay. And Shaiko will cook the ADS down the end of the hallway. They want to get rid of that shield, and they have a minute left to do it. Impact tricks yet again. Got to be from Kajeka. Actually, no, it doesn't. It might be from Rips this time. He's on the Maestro, and now they'll keep that wall close for the most part. Playday is down, and Kajeka claps back. And now, 40 seconds left. There's a lot of time, but Corey's spitting out these smoke babes early yet again.
Got to come out early just to try and keep the pressure at bay, it feels like, from the side of BDS, who are relentless. Making sure at all times there is pressure being applied, whether it's onto Leon from above or down the main stairs onto Church Wall, or Alem looking to snake his way in down blue. There is always something to keep them occupied. And you can see here how Hosty is thinking about going out for this swing. He knows that Alem, no doubt, is pushing down, so much so that he's laid down on the ground. And there we go. He gets the kill onto Renshiro, of all people. So Alem's still around, but Shaiko's going to catch Hosty out. That's that trade coming through. A third comes through in this round for Shaiko. Alem finds another. Shaiko gets the fourth. Man, that is the domination that we missed from him so often last stage.
Just to have that game sense, because there's no way he had cameras on all of those angles. But to know, okay, one was in blue, blue peeked me, blue dead, no problem. Someone else has got to be Church, and they'll have to swing to deny, dead. Someone else might be playing Moto, because none of us took control of it, dead. I mean, I don't know. I just love watching high-tier players play at that level. The game sense, the intricate cognitive athletes that these guys are, it's brilliant to be able to see it and live as well. So, and it's a privilege to be able to commentate over the top of it. So, brilliant first 3 rounds here from BDS. Interestingly enough, I don't have their statistics here on Clubhouse as to whether they're more attacking or defending sided as a team, but I'll be able to get those in a few moments for you whilst we get this set up underway.
Shall indeed. Heading to Gym Bedroom, the site we spoke about halfway through the last round and expected we might head to next. This is the one that you alluded to, Jess, where they're very good at getting the plant down, but very not so good at actually keeping it down. There's always a defuse that comes through, the retake tends to swing in, so I guess if you're looking at things on paper, this is the round that Rogue should be able to win. Ironically, given it is not one of the most popular, you'd assume the defenders wouldn't do so well. If they lose this round, that is a 4-0 attack to BDS on Clubhouse. That is not an outcome or a result that you want heading towards the second half, because even if it ends 4-2, that has still been one hell of a slap in.
Oh no, okay, I just went and checked Rogue statistics here on Clubhouse. They are almost 90% a defensive-sided team here on Clubhouse. That's huge. That means their attacks on Clubhouse are bad. Dare I say any other adjective for that, but like bad. So this does not bode well, Des. I'm really worried coming into the second half.
I almost don't want to be the one to instigate the thought here and set up a narrative across Europe as to what this really shows, but is it that Rogue have relied too much on the crux of Aces for too long, and now that he's not here, we're seeing him struggle? And look, I'm not even trying to say that Hosty is the problem here, but with how things are shaping up for them, you can see they are really missing someone over the last 2 playdays and this one, someone who can contest players like Shaiko and be able to go up against them and win those gunfights. That does feel like it's lacking a little.
The thing is, if you're Hosty, you have so much pressure on you. One, you've got to step up and be the fragger for the team. Two, you don't want to overstep the fragging, die as the opening kill all the time and let your team down. So you play a bit more passive than someone like Aces would, and therefore you're missing that little spark that Rogue had to be those like number one in EUL stage 1. And I think that's you're right. They're feeling something. Is it Hosty's fault? Absolutely not. But I feel like there's a couple of other players who are missing things from as well, and I just can't place my finger on it.
It is tough. It is tough. Lacking the bites they had previously. However, with about 90 seconds left in this round, they have got this jacuzzi wall opened up. And this is exactly what we spoke about in the last round when we had a conversation around this site. The execute comes through in jacuzzi wall. Generally in towards the gym area, you stick a plant and then the retake all kicks off from there. Right now the focus appears to be on trying to get their way inside of the bathroom by trying to open the wall up. Shan't be opened up just yet, but they'll give it another swing, another crack of the whip and see if they can get themselves inside. Most have been removed. Only one left standing here, so that probably means this wall is not going to get opened up in the way that they want outside of this smallest hole you could possibly hope for. But is that going to be enough to give them the coverage they want to actually try and look for an execute in towards the gym? Looks like maybe the answer is yes. Tries to impact Nate, but impacts himself. Karjeka not quite able to get it through the hole will mean that now that this lower part is open, he is under great threat by playing inside here. Sees one swing out, almost goes down himself. He's going to have to sprint across to the other corner to keep himself alive.
It's almost as if Karjeka's sole role here on defense is to impact trick everything. Unfortunately, he keeps losing his life after doing the Lord's work because he does as best he can with those impact tricks. He keeps it close for as long as possible. We've got, less than 30 seconds left. Rafale throws a grenade in, finally ends Karjeka's life, but they've wasted a lot of time, and surely Rogue can hold off here and get their first round.
Well, the opening kill came at 30 seconds into the round, so if it's going to happen at any point for Rogue, it needs to be now. But Alem finds a second from the window. That's the second time he's swung around and done this. And then Shaiko steps in, finds yet another, despite being down on almost no HP the entirety of the round. The plank goes down, Jess. You know how the stats go, but it's not going to be the same stage. They say there is no repeat of stats here. BDS take a 4th attacking round in a row. Rogue, you've got to dig deep here, boys. You've got to find something from somewhere, or this could cascade very quickly towards being a 7-0 to BDS.
Well, I was right. BDS love to plant on the gym bedroom side. This time, they hold off on the retake. But you're right. This looks so horrific here for Rogue. And the reason that I'm feeling so bad on the inside is because Rogue Stage 1 compared to Rogue Stage 2 is a nightmare to look at statistically. You're looking on paper and you're comparing both of the stages and you go, what is going on? What am I reading here? Did they change everything? Well, not really. I mean, they've still got almost all of the same roster doing almost all of the same roles. Nothing really here has changed for Rogue except for Hosty. And let's be frank, if we go back on all of the stats, especially if we look at game by game, Aces didn't have that much of an impact every single game that they won, that it could have just been down to one player. It's impossible. So I don't know.
There were a good number of games where Aces didn't contribute an awful lot last season, but it was more the kind of flex it gave you between him and Leon. And speaking of Leon, a player that we have to raise, because last week he was the standout player for them across both of their games. Maybe a little bit aggressive against Secret and getting himself snagged out, but then in the previous game they played against Empire, he was the only positive player for the whole team. Like, that, he was the only one putting up any kind of game, it felt like, on Consulate. And he has constantly been the shining star, but in this game here, he has yet to find a single kill. He has been the opening death twice, with not a single kill to his name.
Rough game here for Leon. Unfortunately, no one else has stepped up in his stead.
Do you want to correct that name and just replace Leon with Rogue?
Tough game here for both Leon and Rogue. So BDS is able to walk all over them. Walk in the park here for them. We'll see how that changes in the half. If BDS wins this round, they could be really confident going into the second round, but they can't play that way. They can't play like it's going to be a walk in the park because anything could swing. We saw last round that had it been able to deny Playday on the plant, that would have been a completely different round, but it wasn't. So, as we walk into this particular round, we'll see whether or not CCTV is something that Rogue is able to, I guess, put up on the board here. I mean, look, I know we can't look to stats here, but if I'm looking at the stats, this is the most, one of the most played sides by them, and it looks pretty damn good for them. So I'm not entirely sure what it is that's stopping them.
What worries me is how this played out last time, if you remember. Like, BDS just gave up entirely on CCTV wall, Shaiko, I
Yep.
believe, was the opening death on the Hibana. They were like, okay, it's 4 versus 5. It is what it is. They didn't bother taking Garage. They didn't take the CCTV wall. They just straight went for trying to push in through construction in a 4 versus 4 and didn't lose a single person whilst killing 4 on the other side.
Go,
Now, it might not
Shaiko.
be so clear-cut here. Don't think that's time. He hasn't opened the hole at the top. No one has shot it out.
That's your only job, bro. You've been so good at it. Oh, what a shame. Oh, that's opened so early as well, Des. This is a nightmare. Things have just been going downhill. The domino effect for Rogue this game has been horrific. It's been a nightmare for them.
Well, think about the mental impact it has. It's almost like a chaos as well, where things just seem to keep on going from bad to worse, and no massive signs of recovery. You're just not quite getting there when it feels like you're so close. It is frustrating, and that there is a small, simple mistake as well. It's nothing massive, but by keeping that wall closed up, you can't impact trick over. It gives BDS so much more time to operate with. And look at this, 45 seconds left on the clock, and they're rushing into the site.
They know one's offside. They yellow ping there onto Leon Gibbs, who was trying to flank. Unfortunately, I can't particularly see the game,
Nope,
but I can hear
none of us
lots
can.
of bullets going off, and I can
Hi,
only
guys.
look at Des down there. You look shorter than me for once in your life. Look,
That's
welcome
my
back to our
casting pose.
faces. I have no doubt that that was probably a round in the hands of BDS. They identified one was off site, one was over in garage. They could push site, no one was on it. And the only thing really pushing back at them was an Elder, with mind you, with a lot of bullets, but there's only so many angles you can shoot at once.
It's just painful again how they get into the spot where, yes, the wall gets opened up, and yet still BDS can just charge in towards the site, take the gunfights, kill the people. I almost want to say, and I don't even know if this is really on Rogue, but like back in the last game between Secret and Chaos, sorry, back in the first game, I should say, there has been one more since then. Back in Chaos coming up against Secret, quite a few times, it was kind of Chaos being sat back very defensively, holding positions, not being willing to move, and Secret being able to just play into them very comfortably. This is the second time now we've seen them get the wall open, find a single kill, and then very freely just walk into the site, go for a plant, go for kills. There's no crossfires being set up by Rogue. There's no longer angles being held to contest them as they walk inside the room. I almost want to see a bit more bite from Rogue, and I could sit here and say that all day. We've seen how much more bite BDS have got than Rogue, but I do want to see Rogue at least give it a go by fighting back.
I'm unsure what the correct response would be, because if I'm analyzing each of those rounds, and if I'm you know, Rousty, for example, their coach, or I'm any of their support staff, I'm sitting there going, what is the one ingredient that we can add here very quickly, especially with this timeout that we've got, that we can add very quickly to get everyone going, all right, this is what we need to respond? Because I don't think it's a counter strat. I think there's something in their fundamentals that is lacking. And when I'm watching round after round, I can see, you know, too early on the plant denial. That's one of them. And then others, oh, we're not holding the correct angles. And I believe we are jumping back in as I speak. And yep, well, that round went into the hands of BDS. And if this is a 7-0 here, Des, what can we say after this game? What do you think this means for Rogue? And what do you think this means for BDS as well?
Look, this is about to be the first week in history. I'm about to go 3-0 on predictions. And
Wow.
this game, looking at them, I know, right? Looking at this game, this was the one on paper that I think we all sat there and said, okay, look, what's the storyline here? What can we talk about for Rogue that presents itself as an exciting opportunity? Can they be that speed bump a second stage in a row against BDS? We all saw how Rogue played last week. We all saw how BDS played. We know what that was going to lead to. My concern now is that less so BDS. We already know they're strong. It's Rogue going forwards. The teams they've got to come up against yet, you know, they've struggled in their first 3 games. They've struggled to really compose themselves in a way that suggests that they can achieve what they did last stage, because now you've got Secret, who are sat on 9 points in first place, Rogue, who are about to be sat right dead bottom on 0 points. What a flip that has been compared to last stage.
Flipping the leaderboard upside down. That's BDS's goal here, and it looks like Rogue, well, they're unfortunately falling straight into that trap. A good drone was able to spot out Leon Gids, and, well, he's going to get some shots out onto a Lems. Renshiro went down early, and I did manage to miss that kill, so if you can fill me in after my little spiel here, that'd be great, but this sort of
Just Corey
extended
catching a free
roam.
snag, I think, onto Renshiro, which removes the Thatcher. It's not world-ending in this round because the hatch had already been opened up by the defenders to let them go diving in if they really wanted to. The one hatch you're obviously concerned about here is the one inside a kitchen. Now, there's no way it can be denied. There's no need really to make use of the Thatchers here. I guess the one thing you do have to be wary of is the fact there might be a couple of mute jammers down on Church Wall, which you now can't get open very easily.
Well, Leon hasn't been able to make good work of those hatches there with that particular operator. Oryx, that's what he's known for. You can look at that. Impacts do fly up this time, and oh, that's
God
a
damn
bad
it.
flash for Shaiko, but that's okay. He gets it the third time round, and C4's rating up as well. How did Rafale miss that one? It's almost like he just used his feet to block it, and he'll use his gun to snap it out, and that's Kaljeka off the board. That's the impacts out of the way as well. And now they get that kitchen hatch open, and look, they've made good work of all the floor as well. That's why they've got the sledge. Husty, he's been having a pretty good game, if you ask me. He's been a big hitter for Rogue, and he'll be a big hitter as well. Leon finally gets that kill that is ever so needed. And it's up to the Clutch Master, one of the highest rated players for Stage 1 here on Playday, to clutch this one out. He's got 20 seconds left. He'll have to hit 3 really good kills in order to get this round in the hands of BDS. I don't think we're going to see a 7-0 anymore.
One of the lowest death players as well, mind you. I think here his death is going to be all but guaranteed unless he can keep himself alive to see the clock hit 0. Notices one in the doorway, finds him inside a blue. Does he know where the next one is? Answer turns out to be no. Going to have to try and stick a plant here, but Leon and Corey are coming sprinting in. Surely they know where he is. Indeed they do. Corey collects that one, and for Rogue, it will not be total embarrassment today. They do collect a single round. But a single round, yes, I still think seeing a 7-1 on the board, everyone will look back at that and remember just how dominant BDS were in this first half. Maybe if you looked at this and go, okay, well, maybe they got slapped on the defense. Maybe when BDS were defending, they just beat the hell out of Rogue and Rogue couldn't find anything. The scary thing is it was the reverse. And now we go on to BDS playing on defense. This could be a very quick couple of rounds.
Yeah, as I predicted before, I mean, if they do end up being a couple of quick rounds, it just comes down to the fact that I don't think Rogues really work themselves out on attack here on Clubhouse. On other maps, we see them be far more dominant, and the stats don't lie here, I think. I think given that we can see them just have a whoppingly bad time on attack, I'm just looking at these statistics, and I mean, the only site that they've done pretty well on is Master and Gym. And if they win the next 2 sites, let's say they go CCTV and then they go to the next site, which is generally Church and Arsenal downstairs, we won't even see Gym Bedroom. That's it. The game's over. GG. So if they wanted to get to the site that they're most fluent at, then they better win this next round in order to force it. But they'll probably just keep going CCTV and Arsenal.
Pretty mortifying when you think about it. You haven't even got to get your offsite tested. You just play your 2 standard ones and be very, very safe in the knowledge that you can win those. It's crazy. In fact, can we get the... I think it's easy we've got observing for us this week, right? Easy. Spin around 3 times if it's you. Yeah, it's easy. I love it. Okay, that's enough. You make me dizzy, my man. Can we check the leaderboard again, please, so I can just see how many kills Rogue have collected across 6 rounds? Okay, it's not woeful. 14 kills they've got themselves so far, and 6 of those sit on Hosty right now. So it's not as bad as it was. I remember back in like round 4 or round 5, I think they got 6 across like 4 rounds, and I was like, man, this is bad. So I'm glad they've at least found some fragging capability in the last couple. But is it going to be enough now that they've warmed up to be able to swing this all the way back to being a draw, if not a win? Highly unlikely.
Well, that's just still in play, and Leon Gids will be the one on it. There's only a mute jammer to stop them here, and Leon Gids just wants to check it, make sure no one's tricking, and they're not. So that EMP will explode and that wall will get opened in the first minute. Great time management here from Rogue, but their next worry will be getting that garage control. And with the gunners and the way that BDS have been popping off thus far, well, Rogue have got a lot to contend with here. I think they just tried to make that rotate into garage late as well, which is only a half rotate. I'm not sure you can even really vault through that. Why would you peek that, Shaiko? What is that? That's awful. If you're Rogue right now, that is awful. No one peeks that and wins that unless you're, I guess, Shaiko.
Or any player on BDS, it feels like. It could be Renshiro, it could be Playday, it could be Alem for how this round's gone, or this game's gone. Even Rafale can step up there and claim something for himself. I love how quiet Playday's had to be, by the way. I think he had barely any kills and he's barely died either. It's been super quiet for him in those 6 rounds so far. Look at that. 1 kill, 3 deaths. Everyone else on what? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plus? Like, it's looking pretty gross.
They asked him after becoming first rating top EUL last stage to calm it down and share it between the teammates. It looks like he's done that. He's a bit of a humble guy, I think, so looks like he's happy to share the load with the rest of his teammates. And now we're down to 1 minute, even though they've had this wall open now for an entire minute. Yeah, that particular rotate, like I said, was open late before, so not a great one. Leon does get down, but surely they trade Shaiko on this one. Surely this is where they get those numbers advantage and go, hey, we can trade onto him here, but no one's there? Okay, finally.
Does make something out of it. Is Corey getting the trade kill back onto Shaiko after he peeked out and brought down Leon? My concern was they got that wall opened up and then looked like they were going to rotate over towards construction to get this one open. Let's not forget, BDS won their attacks, only got construction open and still managed to win twice, attacking through a single entryway. And here with this wall being soft, that's a bit of a thinker. That's never left soft, but here it is going to be left soft, so the Sledge can step up and get to work. Only 15 seconds to go. It's a 4 versus 3. Let's see if they can execute as well as they did on the other side. No, they can't. They've tried to step in, and everyone has been slaughtered before the French behemoths. This is BDS putting themselves into a 4 versus 1 and going into match point. My God, Rogue must be feeling helpless right now, Jess.
BDS, especially their support players, are sitting on side here on their defensive half going, guys, it's been 2.5 minutes. Have I missed the memo? What's going on? Are they coming into sight? Where even are they? And that's the trouble here, as we spoke about Playday. He's not really been in any engagements. What did you say? He died 3 times, had 1 kill. Not sure if that's still the case, but nonetheless, he's had almost no action. And being the main support there of your team, that shows, 1, that the other team is not even getting close to the support players, or 2, especially on their attack, that those support players are so heavily guarded that no one is able to touch them. This is so dangerous. We move downstairs. I'll bring it up again for you guys. I know I'm harping on the stats here, but this is huge for BDS. We go down and we look at Church Arsenal. 12 times they've played it. They've only lost it twice.
Well, I'd say they haven't done much of losing anything lately, to be fair. They seem very, very comfortable no matter where you stick them. Now on this downstairs, what I'm keen to see is what the game plan is, because let's not forget in that last round, well, not the last round, sorry, the last round of the defensive half for the side of Rogue, where they did eventually win, they picked the Thatcher off really early. Yet BDS still managed to get themselves into a spot to contest. Hosty just stepped up big coming across from blue and killed 2 inside of Moto.
Yep.
Imagine if they'd won that opening kill there against Hosty and gone on to plant and win. That would have been a magical turnaround to go for a single drop point through Moto to proceed to go and win the round. For Rogue here in that last round, we saw how much they flapped when they had 2 entry points. They had CCTV wall and they had construction and still could not find a single kill when it actually came round to execution time. So here I'm thinking it doesn't matter if you're going to find yourself with the kitchen hatch. It doesn't matter if you're going to find yourself with control of, say, Moto and even control of Church. They need to do more. They've got to come up with something magical here if they're going to take this round away and keep the dream alive. But personally, I think chat knows exactly where we expect this round to go.
Red pings?
What is this?
Red pings? This is an indicator that someone's pushing almost. Oh my God, Leon Gids stands up. You said they need something different. Well, Leon Gids says get in the bin, and bin they get.
2 opening kills to walk down and collect 2 like that. That is a massive swing for them. It's the Goyo gun, which probably denies the C4, and potentially the impact nades coming out of the Malusi. So they have the ability to get these hatches open in quick time here and proceed in towards going for the execution. There should be absolutely nothing for them to worry about here. Jess, there's still 2 minutes on the clock. It isn't like this has happened at the 1 minute mark remaining. This happened off Leon sprinting his way down the main stairs and collecting 2 kills when BDS didn't have a clue what was coming at them.
I mean, when you're red pinged, especially consistently now that ping 2.0 exists, that's why they weren't shooting the drone, because they knew someone had to be behind. That's the only reason you would red ping so viciously over and over again. And they still lost. So that was awesome. That was big there from Leon. He's going to be happy walking away with that. If they lose this round, it's definitely not on the back of Leon. He absolutely had his impact. He used his EMPs. He did everything he needed to do. This has got to be a round here for Rogue. This has got to put them in a positive momentum, bring them back into the game.
Look at the drones. They've got 2 left alive and 1 minute and 15 still to go. And we all know that information wins games, ladies and gents. I'm not so confident here that they have enough on side to actually know where these final few members of BDS are playing. Not going to stop Leon from just walking his way forward and collecting yet another kill in this round. This is how you drag your team over the finish line in the style that we know Rogue can do. Now into a 1 versus 4. It's down to Playday. Clutch your bus, my man. You've been in one of these before. Does get a double kill. Going to swing around and try and find a next. Gets the next down as well. Can he collect the 4th? If he collects the 4th, this could be huge for them. Goes for the shotgun play, but gets it. No way has he got a quadra kill. There's 1 remaining. It's Playday, MVP of last stage against Hosty. Newbie coming in, a rookie that has had a good couple of games, but it all lands on him here. He will find the kill. Playday coming so close, but Hosty steps up and keeps Rogue's dreams alive.
We said Hosty had a great game so far, and well, After all the work that Leon did, that triple kill, getting them access to side and then assisting and getting the plant down, Playday, he's an amazing player. Almost pulling that clutch together in a way that, I mean, we don't see many players do before. We've seen Rips do it, and he's on the, he's on the opposing team. So we've got two clutch masters going head to head. But my goodness, something I wanted to bring up before after getting absolutely carried away with that particular round. I almost gasped over your play-by-play tenfold there. But I want to point out that BDS have been bringing the Melusi. Now, we've seen a pretty high pick rate. Once the stats do come out from CGG and our production can throw it up in one of the play days, we absolutely will, and we can analyze it for you. Melusi's been brought almost all the time. But guess which team has not really been bringing it? Rogue, against the team that I argue they should bring it against, BDS. Because why? BDS are being too fast, they're being too powerful, and they're being too overwhelming. And a Melusi would really help with that.
To give them some credit, they have been bringing it all of this map in particular. Maybe that is part of that adaptation and acceptance of, well, one, we got to slow them down, and two, we need to bring along those impacts. When they tried to contest with the impacts, mind you, they were stepping underneath where the Hibana Excaris were going off. What happens? Get shot through the floor by Shaiko. It's kind of sod's law. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Things didn't work out so well for them in that half, and that's why if you're only just joining us, you're finding that, not unsurprisingly, BDS are sat at 6-2. But that clutch almost from Playday there, I think it's worth a shout out again, because when he came into the team, everyone was like, oh, it's a smoke god, he's a god with the SMG, and I was like, all right then, let's see it happen. And then he steps up and starts murdering everyone with an SMG, and to see it come back to life again here in stage 2, in that round just a second ago, even if it didn't result in a round win, it's still a thing of beauty to see Playday running around with an SMG.
It's a highlight reel play for absolute, like if we had a weekly top 10 plays, that would be my top 3. Right there would be my top 3. So, of course, the week's just begun, but nonetheless, he's been doing a heck of a lot for his team. But guess what? Rogue has to do a heck of a lot here. What are they going to put on the board? 4 more rounds to bring it to a draw, and that's just to get 1 point. I think BDS losing 4 rounds in a row would be very surprising to me here.
On the downstairs. Once more we return, and no doubt BDS were a lot more attentive to what Leon achieved last round. Watching main stairs, making sure no one was coming charging down at them. No doubt a camera or two lurking in that direction. Given you have the Maestro and the Valkyrie on side, that's a lot of information collection. So rather than trying to play for the big denial game here, although they do have the Melusi and the smoke for that, it feels like the bigger focus is most definitely on knowing where Rogue are coming from and probably looking to try and frag out as they go for their executes.
Oh, I like that Valkyrie cam. That's a little bit of a nifty one. Also very hard to destroy with those really thin and very closely aligned bars. That's if they even do spot it. They don't have an IQ in tow, so they won't really be able to, but maybe an EMP in hand. But look at the placement of Rips. He's got the diffuser. It looks like a church plant yet again will be the play. And Leon decides, well, he wants to try and get rid of ADSs that might be in there. Grenade sails on through, but what a good rotate there. Yeah, it did bounce on one of the chairs possibly and get caught, but I think it was aimed for Shaiko, but he does have an ADS or 2 behind that little generator spot there, so it probably wouldn't have done much. Maybe it was for the Banshee as well. Who knows? But we're at 50-second mark, and guess what? Everyone's alive. Not a single lick of health gone. Both teams knowing what's on the line here. Renshiro will kick things off on a Leon Gid, and when I say kick things off, I mean kick it off in good style.
Laughing back at Leon for what he did in the last round, and like that, they're falling like dominoes. 2 left on the side of Rogue. It's Corey and Hosty with nothing but a prayer to keep the team in this game. Something says to me in these closing 25 seconds, it's going to be a tall order to get in, kill enough people, get the plant down, close the round out. It's going to be impossible. BDS say that last round, total fluke. Flawless round stepping in, and that is one hell of a dominating show. Outside of a flourish from Leon and a bit of a crazy round in the first half, that was just all BDS, and the French team continue their rampage through the European League.
Begs the question now, Des, who can knock BDS off this pedestal? I can't name a single team yet who might be able to, but maybe, you know, we got Secret on the up, and the trajectory of multiple teams now looking quite different, but the trajectory of Rogue's particular win streak here is almost non-existent. So we won't see Rogue doing too much here today, walking away with no more points, and we'll see BDS walking away yet again victors, which I don't think is really surprising.
Yeah. The only team I'm looking at now that stands before BDS that I could see giving them a real challenge, at least of the scheduled games, we don't know what happens on days 8 and 9 yet,
Right.
probably, is looking towards Team Secret. And that's on October 7th. And that is not a sentence I thought I would have said last week. But given how Secret are now 3-0 and are looking pretty damn good, that could turn out to be a very interesting game. I just hope they're up to the task when it comes to that fragging department. Let's go to the Desto and see what their thoughts are on that very, very quick game.
Thanks so much, Des and Jess. Yeah, that was a pretty quick game.